Welcome to the Book Party Podcast. Join us as we journey into the world of books with Michael T. Prepare to be captivated by engaging interviews, insightful discussions, and fascinating stories. You'll discover new adventures and gain insight into the creative process of the authors themselves as they share their struggles and accomplishments. Now let's hear from Michael T.
This is Michael T. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of the Book Party Podcast, the show that dives deep into the world of literature, storytelling. Today we have an exceptional guest, an author whose writing seamlessly blends technology and creativity. Please join me in welcoming Michael Pickard, a multi-talented writer whose career has spanned the realms of software engineering and retail expertise. His journey into the world of creative writing has led to creation of captivating stories that have left both readers and entertained introspective. Michael Pickard's work has been recognized and celebrated with one of his short stories, Hardwired, even earning him the prestigious Ray Bradbury Creative Writing Prize in 2005. His ability to imagine fictive universes and societies, often influenced by his extensive background in technology, has garnered him a dedicated following. Today, we'll be delving into his latest book, Creative Deductions Home Run, a thrilling detective story featuring Detective Nick Chasm, a man whose dedication to his profession is only rivaled by his love for his 82-year-old mother. When his mother calls him from home to Eden, Georgia, to investigate a mysterious vehicular homicide involving her male companion, Detective Chasm finds himself confronting not only his past, but a tangled web of secrets and mysteries that may change his life forever. Stay tuned as we explore the creative mind behind Creative Deductions Home Run and uncover the intriguing world of Michael Pickard's storytelling. Let's dive into the fiction, technology, and creativity world with Michael Pickard without further ado. So, Michael, why don't you take it from here, fill in the blanks a bit, and tell our listeners about yourself.
Well, thank you very much for having me on your program. I have been through three major careers. I spent 28 years doing software for the local phone company. Started as a programmer and ended up as the director of technology assessment in the corporate office. So that was a good career. And then I early retired from that and still needed money, so I went to work for Apple in their retail stores and spent 14 years helping customers use technology to solve their problems. And that was a good run. But then I wanted to turn my attention to something that had been an avocation for me back all the way in 1993, which was creative writing. And so about 6 years ago, I took up creative writing full time. And as you mentioned, I recently moved from the genre of science fiction to the genre of detective mystery, and it's going really well.
Well, on your publishing journey, from starting out to now, did you go down the self-publishing path or the route of finding an agent, an agency route, or somewhere in between, such as hybrid? How did you go down the path of your publishing journey?
Well, the first book that I assembled, and I'll explain that a little later, I wanted family and friends, coworkers, other people who were demanding a copy. I wanted them to be able to get one. And so there was a bit of urgency about it. I didn't want to try to find an agent for my first book. Could have taken a year and then another year or two before the book came out. So I've learned about print-on-demand services, and for a small fee, a company called Ex Libris took my manuscript. We slapped a pretty generic cover on it, and the book came out so that I could satisfy the demand and not burn out my laser printer printing out copies of this novel. And that was fine. What I learned subsequently from people who were in critique groups with me is that as good as their writing was, and back then their writing was a whole lot better than mine, and any awards they won, including national awards for best unpublished manuscript, even with an agent, the march toward standard publication was almost vertical. And I thought, if they can't do it with the quality of work that they're doing, I don't think I have a shot. I also wanted control. I wanted to be able to set my price. I wanted to be able to set my delivery date, not wait 2 years. And I wanted the ability to, 3 months after the novel is out there, and I get feedback that people have found something wrong or I missed an opportunity, that I could go in, modify the body of the book, essentially republish it, and people buying it going forward would have a better quality product.
Right. Well, I interview a lot of authors, and what's happening today is much different than in the past, that self-publishing, even KDP, has come such a long way from what it used to be. And, you used to almost have to go with an agency to get a book published. And you don't have to do that anymore. You can publish your own book. You can build a team off of Upwork or Fiverr or a combination thereof, to get some of your formatting and editing and cover designs and things like that done. And, you can self-publish that way, or you can go hybrid publishing. And I'm finding more and more people just not even bothering with the traditional publisher because it takes way too much time in finding an agent and way too much time in getting picked up by a publisher. And then they lose control of their book, or they feel like they do, because they want to change what they're saying. They want to do other things instead of, hey, that's not what I said. I want it to say this. And so they get very frustrated with it. And so, and the other thing that I've seen lately is audiobooks. And audiobooks seem to really be up and coming right now. And there's chatter out there that it won't be that much longer, and I don't mean months, but in a couple more years, where audiobooks are going to outperform print, because society's living a lifestyle where they just don't sit down and turn pages anymore. They listen to, I'm an old school guy. I like to have a book and turn the pages. I like to have that. I don't like to read off of a screen. I don't, particularly like that. I have to read off a screen enough just doing this job. So I prefer to have a book where I can turn the pages. That's the way I like to read. But the lifestyle people live today is a little bit more fast-paced. They don't sit down and turn pages anymore, and they like to listen to their books. And so it's becoming, or I should say, it's an up-and-coming thing to go to audiobooks. And I don't know if you've considered that or not, but it just happens to be that. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about that or not.
I do sell more ebooks than I do paperbacks. People like the convenience of reading on a tablet, and that's fine. I try to make sure that my formatting for the print book and the formatting for the ebook are both set up properly, so that people can change font sizes and all that stuff. I have looked into audiobooks, but hiring the talent to do the reading isn't cheap. And I'm not on the New York Times bestseller list, so that I could take the revenue I get from the books and turn it around and invest it into a voice talent to read the book. And I have been advised, whether my voice is good or bad, not to be the audio talent for my own book. So I think that's going to have to wait. I would love to be able to do it, but not at the moment.
Right. I've just stumbled across, I didn't really stumble across, I did an interview of an author that happened to be the owner of one of the platforms that does audio books, and they happen to have some various ways of doing it instead of just one way. This is how you're going to do the audio book, and it actually sounds pretty good. I don't get paid to give them a plug or anything like that, but it's called Amplify Audio, and it really starts to look pretty good when you look at it. And so Amplify Audio is something I'm looking at for my books. And it's something to take a look at. They'll talk to you, and it doesn't cost anything to talk to them, that's for sure. Anyway, take us to a point in this book that you would consider your worst author moment.
We'll skip ahead to the second novel that I was trying to create. I had already self-published The Gurfnit Chronicles, which was my first book. And I'll talk about that in detail in a minute. But I was working on a prequel. And I had the story laid out, and the structure of the story was interwoven chapters from two different character points of view. So you get a chapter from character A and then a chapter from character B, and those alternated until there was a chapter where they were both present in the same space and could hear each other's voices. And the rest of the novel was going to be their stories intertwined. And so I shared that with a couple of professionals, and I got back the same response from both of them. And it was, you have two books here. And it kind of set me on my haunches, because the thing that I was trying to do had failed. And so I took their advice and separated out the two stories into two different word processing documents. And I was shocked when I learned that after the merge point of the two character threads, that one character had a complete story and the other character disappeared. And it was pretty devastating because I thought I had carried both characters all the way through to the end, and I had not. And so I was flummoxed. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I set things aside for quite a while, just trying to get my writing legs back under me. And finally, I took the character story that was complete and rewrote that as a single character story. And after much editing and gnashing of teeth, that came out as my second novel, originated under Twin Suns. But there was a while there where I was working one writing project, and the writing project had essentially collapsed under me, and it was very tough.
I can imagine the way you first tried to do it would be extremely difficult. So I can see how that they said you had two stories there, because that would be a very difficult way to do it, especially same space, same time. would be a very difficult way to do it. So I can see how they would say that now that you mention it. I don't know that I would have picked up on it, but, the professionals did, and that's probably a good thing. So let's move on to what I call an epiphany moment or an aha moment. Usually this takes place when you're doing anything except actually writing. You can be driving, you can be cooking, you can be walking, taking a shower, sleeping, whatever. And all of a sudden, a bright light bulb bursts in your head with an idea, and you go, oh, man, I've got to find a pen and paper. I got to write this down right now, or it'll fade away. So, do you ever have an epiphany moment like that?
I've been fortunate that I've had several. I guess the most important one in terms of my writer's journey. So my first novel came as kind of an accident. My daughter was going to overnight camp. She was 11 years old, and it was her first time away. And she said, Daddy, I want you to write me a letter every day. And I thought that was fine, but I didn't want to underperform. I wanted her to receive a letter. I wanted her to be anxious about it, happy to receive it, not just because I was her father, but she was interested in what was in the letter. I was not going to write her something that was boring or mundane or chronicled what my previous 24 hours had been, what I ate for breakfast, what I did at work. So I decided that I was going to write her a story. And the story I came up with was the story of an alien named Gerfnet who was surgically modified to look like a humanoid and came to Earth and attended overnight camp. And the camp that Gerfnet attended was her camp. My wife and I had gone to an overview of what the camp was like, and I'd taken some notes, and I had a map. So I had some research kind of handed to me. And so she was gone for a week, and I wrote her 7 letters. And instead of Dear Samantha, it was Chapter 1, Chapter 2. So she got 7 chapters of a story, and she came home, and I said, how'd you like the letters? And she said, oh, they were terrific. And my cabin mates loved them too. I went, whoa, I thought I had an audience of 1, and now I have an audience of maybe a dozen. This repeated in her 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year of overnight camp, and in a year where she went to summer school. So I had 5 years worth of these letter chapters, and people all around me knew that I was writing the story to Samantha every summer. All the other months I wasn't writing. And so to satisfy their demands, I went to Ex Libris and had the book created. The first books showed up in a box. I remember standing in my entryway and ripping the box open and pulling out a copy. And at the time, they were only doing hardbacks. So I held a copy in my hand. It's got a nice dust jacket on it. Take off the dust jacket. My last name is gold embossed on the spine. I smell the book. It smells fresh of ink. I open it up, and there are my words on the page. I got goosebumps. It was a significant emotional event, if that phrase works. And I decided in that instant that I wanted to keep doing that. I wanted to keep creating books that would entertain and inform and offer the opportunity for people to think. Because even all the way back in the Gerfnet Chronicles, I certainly wanted to entertain my daughter with the story, so she'd want to read the next chapter. I wanted to sneak in some parent stuff, life lessons. So that's the informed part in terms of the book to her. And I wanted Gerfnet's situations and the choices that Gerfnet made to make Samantha think, at least for a moment, about her life and how she behaved. And so those 3 things have been my mantra. ever since 1998 when the Griffin Chronicles came out.
Well, it's a really cool way that came about. I mean, that is really nice. So let's switch to today. What is the one thing that you're the most fired up about or excited about right now, today?
So I use National Novel Writing Month as one of the tools in my writing toolbox. Your audience can't see, but I have a bunch of sticky notes on the wall behind me, which are the beginning definition of a novel that I will be dumping out of my brain in November during NaNoWriMo. And it's I'm going back to science fiction for that book. But when I have a moment of idle time, and that isn't very often, my mind goes to the various scenes and research that I still need to do to get that book done.
Okay, great. This is Michael T. I invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com, hit that subscribe tab on top, and scroll down to the icon of your choice, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey, where you can download and follow us there. Please leave a review. Don't forget to sign up for our weekly video newsletter to get the latest information on our upcoming shows. So, Michael, we're going to enter into the lightning round. What the lightning round is 4 pointed questions for 4 pointed answers. So, before you became an actual author, what was holding you back from becoming an author?
I didn't know I could do it.
Okay. Simple as that, huh?
I had been in groups with people in high school who did the school show. I had written a screenplay with one of my colleagues so that our English teacher could have it performed as part of her master's program. So I had done little snippets of writing, mostly with a humorous bent, but I had never considered long-form work.
Okay.
I'd done some short stories, but long-form was just something I hadn't considered. And when I had the opportunity to do it over a 5-year period, it wasn't too painful.
Well, great. Okay. Once you started writing as an author, what was the best advice you had ever received?
I was told that I did not need an MFA to be a successful writer. That I got a compliment that the person who's a professional writer and educator told me that I inherently know how to tell a story. She said, schools can't teach that. If you keep your books filled with sensory experience, and if you keep things active instead of passive, and you keep the reader engaged, and the reader hooks onto the stakes that your protagonist has at risk, you can write a good story. And so I have not taken the next tier of education to try to learn how to be a writer. I get better by writing, by doing writing.
Okay, well, share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
So this is going to sound a little weird. Dreams and hot showers. So, some of my books were originated by something I dreamt, and I'd wake up in the morning, run to my office, grab paper and pencil, and write down everything I could. One of them was based on an image I had. You would call it a hexagonal children's climbing apparatus in a playground. But I dreamed that, and I drew it when I got up, and I had all kinds of questions. What is it? Where did it come from? And that generated a book. When I take a hot shower, the ideas flow. I'm not thinking about anything else. The water's beating on the back of my neck, and my mind just is freed to think about a story I'm working on or a story that I might work on. And I even put a small whiteboard attached to the wall outside the shower. So when I get out of the shower, I can take a marker and I can take notes about what I thought about in the shower so that I can use those later on.
Share an internet resource with our listeners that you use when you're writing.
Well, so I have two. One I've already mentioned, National Novel Writing Month. It is held every November. The goal is to dump 50,000 words or more out of your brain as the basis for a novel. And I find it's the most expedient way for me to take a story idea, all the details, most all of the scenes, and get them into the computer so that after numerous edits and shaping, those words will form a novel. Lately, I've started to use ChatGPT, and no, not to write the story. I use ChatGPT as internet search on steroids. If there's something I want to know about, I can put in a prompt, and I will get back some interesting ideas. And I might use those ideas or I might not, but it will raise things that I hadn't thought of. And that's really useful because now I can have a broader perspective on my work.
Okay, Michael, we're going to enter into the grand finale. So what I'd like you to do is tell our listeners about your book.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity. So I had been a dedicated science fiction author since 1998. It's a very comfortable genre for me. Anything I can imagine, I can write and share with readers. The last couple of sci-fi novels had protagonists. They weren't detectives, they weren't policemen, but in the books, they were gathering clues or evidence or learning about how to solve a problem that was facing them, something where they had significant stakes. And I wondered if I had the chops to write a detective novel. So I set my goal 3 years ago using NaNoWriMo to fabricate my first detective book. I was advised that one interesting thing that detective writers do is they have two separate murders in the book, and the detective figures out that these seemingly unassociated murders are, in fact, related. And I thought that was a good premise. So Creative Deductions, Home Run, as you mentioned, is about a Chicago detective named Nick Chasm. His hometown was Eden Gorge, Illinois, a fictitious town up near Rockford. It's where his 82-year-old mother still lives. And she calls him up to come home because her 80-year-old male companion was killed on a highway. Nick's father has passed away. He was a bank guard after retiring from the police department. And he and Nick never got along. And I'll let you read the story to figure out why. That held Nick back from going up to see her. Being in the town was just something he couldn't handle emotionally, although he calls his mother every night. But in this circumstance, prodded by his commander, he does make the trip home. And after a lot of investigation, he figures out that her male companion's death and the apparent suicide of someone in an upscale community, in fact, are related, and there is evil behind both of them. The management of clues and red herrings and Nick's stakes in figuring this out, I hope, compel the reader to turn the page. And Amazon reviews are telling me that I did a pretty good job. The story is bigger than what could be held between the covers of one novel. And so Creative Deductions is a series of 3 books, each of which is a volume that contributes to the entire Nick Chasm story arc. So a lot of the characters show up in multiple novels. And although each book has its own arc and its own story, there is a larger story that is told through the 3 volumes. Volume 2, Creative Deductions Double Down, should be out next spring. And Creative Deductions Triple Threat should be out in the spring of 2025. Each of those is in a different stage of completion.
Okay, well, it sounds fantastic. I have the book, and I've already started, reading some of it, and it's actually an excellent book. So, Michael, we thank you so much for being here with us today and opening up to us, and I'm sure our listeners appreciate this too. So the latest novel, Creative Deductions Home Run, is available on Amazon. Again, this is Michael T. To all our listeners, I would invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com and hit that subscribe tab on top, then scroll down to the icon of your choice, where you can find us on one of your favorite platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey. You can download and follow us there, and please leave a review. Don't forget to sign up for our weekly video newsletter and get the latest information on our upcoming shows. Until next time, keep reading, learning, and discovering the world through the pages of a good book. Book Party Podcast is owned and powered by MTM Legacy Publishing, LLC. This is Michael T. signing off.
You must not miss our next episode as we delve into a world of inspiration, entertainment, and thought-provoking insights. Join Michael T. on the next Book Party Podcast and experience a new adventure, a new story, and a complete immersion into the world of Pages Unveiled, Chronicles of the Writing Journey.